"We're not paying for this spectacle," my mother declared, composed, piercing, absolute. My marriage arrangements, my tomorrow, everything wiped out in a single line. My sibling didn't even flinch. "Tough break next round," she tossed in, grinning as if it were funny. Father remained mute the way he always did when she dictated who I was permitted to become. I could have shouted. Instead, I uttered one term, "Got it," and left the room. They assumed I'd shatter. They assumed I'd slink back like before. But 3 weeks on, when their existence began to crumble, they at last discovered what that term truly signified. And it started with one telephone ring. From the exterior, my relatives appeared like the sort others coveted. Stone residents, gleaming grins. Weekend meals nobody risked skipping. But within, every chuckle arrived with a regulation tied to it. My mother, Carol, constructed our days on dominance, how we talked, clothed, courted, even what we envisioned. My father, Robert, trailed her path, the soft repeat after every choice. And my sibling, Shannon, she could commit no error. When we were young, I longed to create gowns. I'd pack notebooks with materials and shades. One evening, Mother discovered my illustrations, gripped them like proof, then dropped them right into the garbage. "You're not squandering your days on daydreams," she stated. My father simply lingered there, agreeing like he concurred. That afternoon, I realized quiet could preserve the calm. Time went by. I turned into what they desired, a bookkeeper, reliable, secure. Shannon attended university for promotion, imaginative enough to seem decent. When she launched her shop, Mother hosted her a celebration, bragging about her child's insight. I recall observing them raise glasses beneath fairy lights, Mother's necklace sparkling as she declared, "You've always possessed style." Style. The term still aches. Mine was never permitted. Then arrived Eric. I encountered him at a local charity gathering, the type of occasion my parents labeled rural folly. He labored for a charity, guiding youths, chuckled too freely, posed genuine inquiries. With him, I sensed noticed, not as an assignment but as an individual. The initial occasion I introduced him home, Mother's grin stiffened midway. So she inquired, "What's your occupation?" When he described, her mouth bent into something courteous but icy. "How commendable," Father grumbled. "At least he's decent." Shannon merely murmured, "Goals not required, I suppose." And snickered. For 3 years, Eric remained beside me amid their subtle criticism. We organized our marriage cautiously, sensibly. The Ivy House, lovely but unpretentious, was our ideal location. We accumulated every cent ourselves. When Mother proposed to assist, I figured perhaps she'd altered. She claimed she desired the finest for me. I should have recognized better. That dawn when she summoned me returned to the residence, I assumed it concerned blooms or meals, not conflict. The instant I entered, I sensed it. The strain, the hush before the strike. She positioned by the hearth, limbs crossed. Shannon lounged over the sofa, swiping through her device. Father gazed at the carpet. "We're not paying for this spectacle," Mother proclaimed. "Tough break next round," Shannon inserted without glancing up. The phrases struck like a smack, crisp, degrading, intentional. I sensed warmth climb behind my eyes, but I didn't allow them to witness it. I aligned my spine, nodded once, and stated, "Got it." The space went motionless. Mother blinked, bewildered. Shannon grinned, certain I'd yielded. But what they didn't realize was that quiet was no longer my submission. The journey back to my flat seemed infinite. The heavens dangled low, dreary and weighty, the sort that made the planet appear tinier. My device vibrated the entire route, Eric phoning, but I couldn't respond. I required the stillness, the drone of the pavement to stabilize me. By the moment I arrived home, my palms had ceased trembling. Mostly. The cards rested on my cooking counter, ivory sheets, golden edges, our titles printed adjacent. I gazed at them for an extended period before pushing the entire pile into a container. It wasn't fury yet, just dullness. The type that settles in your torso like a rock. Eric appeared that night, his expression anxious but tender. What occurred? They terminated it, I stated, evenly. He blinked. Terminated. They can't simply. They did. Phoned the site, the flower arranger, all of it. It's finished. He advanced nearer, examining my expression. Do you want me to go speak with them? I shook my head. No, this occasion it's my move. Later that evening, I found myself rummaging through an ancient compartment. At the very base was my secondary school notebook, the one Mother had discarded years prior. The borders were curved, sheets marked with graphite strokes. Gowns, jackets, footwear, all the items I used to adore before she instructed me not to. I followed one illustration with my digit and sensed the scorch of something I hadn't permitted myself to experience in ages. Rebellion. The term got it resounded in my mind. It used to imply capitulation. It implied you prevail. But not this occasion. Not any longer. I considered every goddess I'd ever uttered when she selected my university focus. When she claimed bookkeeping was honorable. When she informed me affection should resemble wealth and position. Every goddess was a fragment of me she'd seized. That evening I composed a roster. Every record, every disbursement, every agreement linked to the marriage. Something didn't seem correct, too exact, too swift. You don't terminate a complete occasion that rapidly without planning. I contacted the Ivy House the following morning. The planner paused before replying. I'm regretful, Miss Perry, but your mother already forwarded us your authorized termination notice. What I questioned. She halted. It bore your mark. The ground appeared to shift under me. I expressed gratitude, disconnected, and stared at my image in the blank device display. Someone had imitated my name. My relatives hadn't merely terminated my marriage. They'd removed me from it completely. I drove directly to Diane Cole's workplace the next dawn. She'd been my firm's lawyer once, keen and immovable, the sort of lady who seemed like she'd been birthed in a tribunal. When I explained what transpired, she didn't inhale sharply or scowl. She just began noting. Display me the documents, she stated. I gave her every folder I possessed, disbursements, bills, the initial agreement for the Ivy House. Diane scanned through each sheet, pen striking against the surface in constant beat. Then she halted. This termination sheet, she whispered, raising it. That's not your script. I bent nearer. My title was there, scrawled across the sheet in awkward strokes. My mark, but not. Diane glanced up, her gaze keen. Someone imitated it. And if they utilized your monetary details to conduct payments, that's an offense. The term offense struck me like a chilly smack. I wasn't merely handling coercion anymore. This was robbery, intentional, computed. We passed hours examining particulars. Every exchange, every deduction from the marriage record. And that's when we spotted it. Thousands of dollars transferred to Shannon Perry Designs, her shop. Another path led to my parents' charge card disbursements and residence upgrades. They utilized your funds to settle their obligations, Diane stated. And I'll wager it worsens. That evening, I rested in the shadows with only my portable screen illuminating the space. I replayed every instant in my thoughts. Mother's chilly tone. Shannon's grin. Father's hush. It all snapped into position. The marriage wasn't merely a dominance play. It was a concealment. The following day, my device rang. Uncle Stephen's title flashed across the display. We hadn't communicated in months, but his tone was strained, restless. Eleanor, there's something you must learn, he stated. It's regarding your grandfather's estate fund. I halted. What regarding it? He established it years ago. $250,000. It's yours, but it triggers only when you wed. Your parents have been overseeing it and deducting from it. I examined the logs myself. The breath departed my lungs. You're saying they've been using the funds for years, Stephen stated gently. Shannon's enterprise, the residence overhaul, all from your estate. If you'd married, it would have initiated a complete review. They had to halt it. I pressed a palm over my mouth. My own relatives hadn't nearly robbed from me. They ruined my tomorrow to keep it concealed. After the ring, I rested motionless for an extended time. The fury arrived gradually, softly, like a tempest building over calm liquid. I launched my portable, entered a note to Diane. "We're submitting the suit." Then I murmured to no one but myself. They desired dominance. Now they'll receive outcomes. The tribunal smelled faintly of aged sheets and varnished timber. Lines of unknowns murmured behind me, the buzz of cooling drowning out my pulse. I rested at the complainant's bench beside Diane. My palms gripped so firmly, my joints hurt. Across the path, my relatives appeared tinier than I recalled. Mother's locks were flawless as ever, but her necklace didn't gleam the same under artificial glow. Father's neckwear was askew. Shannon swiped on her device until the officer instructed her to cease. When the magistrate entered, everyone rose. Case number 4721. Perry against Perry, the assistant declared. The phrases ached more than I'd anticipated. Diane started serenely. "Your Honor, this matter involves the unapproved use of my client's monetary resources and an imitated mark on legally binding papers. We plan to demonstrate that Eleanor Perry's parents and sibling not only disrupted her marriage arrangements, but also wrongly allocated her legacy." Mother bent toward her lawyer, murmuring something keen. She didn't enjoy losing command of the narrative. Diane presented everything: the imitated termination sheet, the bank deductions, the disbursements funneled to Shannon's shop. She handed duplicates to the magistrate, each sheet touching with a gentle, intentional strike. Then came the estate fund. Uncle Stephen assumed the platform, appearing uneasy in his attire. My father, Eleanor's grandfather, established an estate of $250,000 for her. It would disburse upon her marriage. I lately uncovered funds absent. Who deducted them? Diane inquired. He gulped firmly. Robert and Carol Perry. The tribunal wavered. Mother's lawyer protested. Immaterial. The fund was overseen within relatives' privileges. Diane's tone remained serene. Relatives' privileges don't encompass deception. Mother's gaze darted toward me, keen and chilly. You don't comprehend, Eleanor. We were attempting to safeguard you. That fellow, Eric, he's below you. He would have pulled you under. I encountered her stare. Safeguard me by robbing from me. Her tone fractured. We only took what we required. Shannon was sinking in obligations. We couldn't simply allow her collapse. Perhaps she should have, I stated softly. Perhaps it would have instructed her what responsibility resembles. Shannon struck her palm on the bench. You think you're superior to us? You've always been the dull one. Our parents did everything for you. The magistrate struck his hammer once. Come. Diane faced Shannon. Miss Perry, did your parents move any of your shop costs from Eleanor's estate? Shannon paused, her assurance diminishing. I didn't realize where the funds originated from. Truly? Diane raised a paper. Because this bill for your shop upgrade lists your father's mark and Eleanor's estate record number. Shannon's expression lost hue. By the moment Diane concluded her argument, every hidden truth was exposed. Mother attempted to act the victim, father muttered incomplete regrets, and Shannon wept into a cloth she didn't truly need. When the magistrate finally spoke, his tone was firm, icy, absolute. This tribunal rules in favor of the complainant. All funds wrongly taken from the estate are to be repaid instantly. Further compensation of $50,000 will be granted for deception and mental suffering. Mother's breath caught. Father's frame slumped. Shannon gazed at me with utter shock. I didn't grin. I didn't boast. I just breathed out for the first time in months. Outside the tribunal, the heavens were bright, a scarce azure that seemed almost arranged. Journalists weren't present. No gathering, just quiet. Diane faced me. You accomplished it. I just halted them, I stated. That's all. A week on, I positioned at the Ivy House once more, the identical gateway where my mother's phrases had lingered over me, but this occasion it was mine. The yard lamps twinkled gently, benches covered in pale cloth, straightforward and graceful. Eric awaited at the aisle's end, his neckwear slightly askew, his grin steadfast. Owen gestured from the second line, Uncle Stephen offered a satisfied nod, and Diane, who rarely grinned much, actually did. When the melody began, I sensed my throat constrict. No mother fixing my covering, no father escorting me down the path, just me advancing myself. Every stride seemed like recovering something taken. As I arrived at Eric, he murmured, "You all right?" "I'm more than all right," I stated and intended it. We uttered our promises softly, not for display, not for anyone else. The leader declared us spouse and spouse. And for an instant, all I could detect was the breeze through the ivy and the faint noise of chuckling, genuine chuckling. After the rite, I slipped off for an instant, positioning beneath the identical oak where I once wept after everything disintegrated. I gazed up at the lamps and considered how quiet had turned my tool. My mother once labeled my marriage a spectacle. Now it was tranquility. Within, melody and comfort filled the atmosphere. Eric seized my palm and drew me to sway. The planet blurred expressions, lamps, all of it. When the evening concluded, I composed one final message. Straightforward, neat. Carol, Robert, Shannon. The tribunal revealed who you are. I desire you the finest, but this is farewell. I paused for a second, then pressed dispatch. Outside, insects buzzed. Eric encircled his limb around me, and for the first time in years, I sensed liberated. A few weeks on, the rings commenced. First mother, then father, then Shannon. Each one departed a note that sounded identical, gentle tones, compelled regrets, a slight quiver for pity. We just want to converse, dear. Can we gather just once? Matters escalated. I didn't reply. The device vibrated on the surface while I creased clothes, prepared meals, existed my days. Every shake seemed feebler than the prior. Then came the voice message that made me halt. Mother's tone, fragile and weary. Your father was dismissed. Shannon's shop. It's vanished. We're attempting to restart. We require aid. I gazed at the barrier, not furious anymore, just empty. They had seized enough. From Owen, I later learned the complete tale. Father dismissed after a controversy. Mother laboring part-time at a retail outlet. Shannon overwhelmed in obligations. The identical individuals who once commanded my days couldn't even maintain their own stable. One evening, the rings resumed, one after another after another. The display illuminated with their titles. I lifted it, entered gradually, and dispatched one message. The spectacle is already packed. Then I set the device face down, filled myself a cup of vino, and returned to illustrating under the gentle cooking glow. The following dawn, daylight streamed through the pane, warm and silent. Eric touched my brow before departing for labor, and I rested at my workspace encircled by cloth samples and partially completed illustrations. My initial creation collection was forming, mine, not theirs. Liberation didn't seem noisy. It seemed calm, firm, gained. I glanced at my device on the bench, no fresh rings, no regrets, just quiet. The sort that finally implied tranquility. Mother once said my marriage was a spectacle. Perhaps she was correct, because now the performance was finished, and I was the one who departed grinning. If you've ever had to select yourself over relatives, share in the remarks.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a twist. Stay tuned to Reddit Tales Times for your daily dose of drama, laughs, and unbelievable stories.